This is Jason Bischoff back on the No Name Morning Show, and I love to bring artists on the hook to talk about these guys and what they're doing. And today I have Matthew West. Matthew, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Jason. Good to talk to you today, man.
Good to talk to you as well. And, of course, you're on the Winter Jam Tour, which is coming this Sunday to Atlanta, Georgia. And I tell you one thing, I'm looking forward to it, but what is it like for you as an artist to be on tour with all these guys?
Oh man, we're having a blast. It's a pretty unique kind of tour because you've got so many artists. I think it's 10 different artists or bands that are all sharing the stage together, coming together for one night, and it's been an incredible experience so far. The crowds have been amazing, and touring with some of my favorite artists just never gets old.
It's got to be fun. I talked with Billy from New Song just the first of the week, and he mentioned to me, you guys do something a little different. He said you guys always worship together before a concert. What is that all about?
Well, I think that's one of the things I love about this tour is, we try to keep our focus where it needs to be and try to always remember why we're doing what we're doing, why it is we're traveling from city to city. It's not just to entertain people, but it's to hopefully introduce people to the God that's changed our lives. And so, we have our own little church service on tour, and so that's always a unique thing, and all the different artists take turns leading worship, and then we have a pastor on tour that shares devotion for us, and it's a really special time just in the presence of the Lord, and really just kind of asking the Lord to always redirect our hearts to what really matters. And we're on stage in front of a lot of people every night, and it's just easy to get sidetracked and sort of lose sight about what it's all for, and that time of worship is very essential for all of us.
I tell you one thing, it's always good. When Billy mentioned that to me, I was like, man, that's what it's all about. Have church on the road, too. You got to love it.
Yeah, you got to, because we don't always get to be at our home churches, you know what I mean? So for me, it's like I love being home at my home church. I lead worship at my church in Franklin, Tennessee when I'm home. But, it's a rare Sunday that I'm actually able to do that. So it's always good to come home and not feel like I haven't been in church for 6 months,
I understand. Of course, speaking with Matthew West with Artists on the Hook today. Now, Matthew, we know all the songs. You got many different songs people love. You even took a little time away in a cabin to write some songs. But something I didn't know until I researched a little bit, you write some songs for country artists as well. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, that's actually how I started my career, was doing some songwriting behind the scenes. I came to Nashville. I thought maybe I'd get a record deal a little sooner than I did, which is probably the story of a lot of singers. But instead of getting a record deal, people started taking notice of my songs that I had written, and they said, well, we're not going to let you make a record, but we are going to take your song and let somebody else record it. And at the time, I didn't understand what a blessing that was going to be, but now I can see it, so I've had a chance to still be creative. Now that I even get the chance to make my own records, I get to also turn around and write songs with and for other recording artists. So it's an awesome opportunity. And so I love some country music, and I get the chance to sort of be the guy behind the scenes. A lot of people might not know which songs I've written.
I tell you one thing, you wrote some songs for Rascal Flatts, Billy Ray Cyrus, and I looked through the list, and I was like, man, I can't believe that Matthew West, we all know him as a singer, but as a songwriter, you write stuff for other things as well, which is pretty cool. Now, I got a question for you. Where did you write your first song? I mean, when you first got together, how old were you, and where did you write it?
I was a freshman in college, and I was in my dorm room, and I didn't have any friends. And my best friend at the time became my guitar, my new guitar, and I sat in that dorm room just kind of afraid to go outside, being a freshman in college, and you lost everything that's comfortable to you, and that guitar just became a real comfort to me. And I sat there. I had a poster that I bought at Walmart that teaches you how to play different guitar chords, and I just sat there and, started teaching myself how to play the guitar, and that's when I wrote my very first song, and many of my first songs were written in that college dorm room.
Wow, I love it. And of course, find out about Matthew West today with Artist on the Hook. Now, I got a question for you. Do you ever get to travel with your family? Do they get to come along with you at all?
They do, yeah. It hasn't always been that way, but I've been very blessed in recent months. My family and I, my wife and I decided to just kind of make some bold changes. You know, that's one of the toughest parts about being on the road is, you know, I stand on stage and I feel like I'm where God wants me to be. You know, I'm telling people about Jesus, and I feel incredibly fulfilled doing that. And yet, I feel conflicted. You know, I'm a bit torn about it because I'm doing God's will, but is it God's will for me to be away from my girls? You know, I got 2 little girls at home, and so we decided we were going to start homeschooling our daughters, and that our family life was going to look a little bit unorthodox. And so now they're on the road with me. We homeschool, and we get to spend life together on a tour bus. So the kids are having a blast doing that, and it's been a really exciting time. So when you come to Winter Jam, you might even have a little West Daughters sighting.
I love it. Now, I got a question. So since you're a dad, you're an artist, do you teach your kids guitar lessons and all that kind of things?
Well, I try. In fact, this morning I kind of was duking it out, trying to get through a violin lesson with my daughter, but she just didn't want to have anything to do with that. So it depends on the day whether or not I'm a good teacher. So, you know, I'm trying, but it always winds up, you know, I never wanted to do violin. You made me. And I'm like, trust me, honey, you'll be glad that you did violin if you could just stick with it. And, you know, we go round and round.
Trust me, we homeschool our 3 children as well, and yeah, I understand completely. I really do. My wife understands better, but I understand a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's just, you know, sometimes it's like you try to walk that line where you don't want to push your kids into stuff, but you want to find out, you know, areas of giftings that they have and then encourage them towards it. So
I agree.
So we're trying to figure that out right now. So right now we got Jingle Bells down on the violin, and that's about it.
Well, it's only February, so you're okay.
Yeah, we got some time.
Now, something else that you did here recently, you wrote a song and a movie came out of it, The Heart of Christmas, and you had a hometown girl here in Albany, Georgia, Erin Bethea, who played in, of course, so Fireproof as well with Kirk Cameron, as your wife in the movie. Talk a little about that, how it was like for you to have her as your wife anyways.
Well, that was a great experience doing that movie together, and Erin is such a sweet person and a great actress. She just does great work, and so it was an honor to have her as a part of that movie. It was a challenge to explain to my children why Daddy had a different wife on the movie. So they were watching the movie and they were like, well, who's that? And I was like, well, it's kind of tough to explain it to a 4-year-old. So
I understand completely. You got a 7 and 4-year-old you mentioned earlier, and you look at that. I got a 6-year-old in my house, and it's all literal. I mean, when you say Daddy said that's his wife, you're like, wait a minute, that's not Mommy. What's wrong?
Exactly.
Something's not right.
So you try to explain it the best you can, but but yeah, we had a great time on that movie. You know, that's been a neat experience just seeing. I've been on this journey of collecting people's stories and turning them into songs, and that was just a rare experience that I've never had before, where I turned this family who had a little boy who was a St. Jude's patient battling leukemia. I wrote a song for that family, and some producers in L.A. heard the song and said, hey, we want to turn this into a movie. And so I've never had an experience like that where a song was turned into a movie, and that was very exciting. But it's actually really begun to birth a kind of whole new world for us. My recent song, Forgiveness, is also inspired by a true story, and we'll be going into production on the movie about forgiveness this summer. So that's kind of exciting to see those things beginning to develop.
So you have a new movie coming out as well then. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll probably be out, I think, in 2014, but we're just kind of beginning the early stages of planning it, and it's, so it's fun. It's fun to realize that, I believe there's power in a story, and I believe that there's a powerful story that lies within every single one of us. And sometimes the world or the devil will try to make us believe that our stories aren't worth telling. And yet I've received over 25,000 true stories from people all over the world.
Wow.
Who have dared to believe that their story is worth telling and that God could shine through it. And it's a pretty exciting thing to see a song be born out of those stories, and now to even see perhaps a movie be born out of those songs. It's pretty neat.
That is amazing how the Lord can do that and turn a song into a movie like that's pretty cool. And, of course, you mentioned things coming out in the future. You just had a new album out in September, Into the Light. Talk about that album.
Yeah, well, it's kind of a continuation of this theme that I was describing, where I've called it Into the Light because every song is inspired by just everyday people who chose to bring their story into the light. And they wrote to me at my website. We just kind of keep this ongoing dialogue open with people where they can send their story to me. And so these songs are inspired by people's true stories.
Wow.
People who might be listening to your radio station or walking in the doors of a church on Sunday or coming to my concert on a Friday night. And so it's been a really awesome experience. And that CD, Into the Light, is the one that has the song Forgiveness on it. And so it's fun. It's fun to be able to kind of bring these stories to life for people. And hopefully these songs and stories will encourage all who hear them.
I know they have. A lot of people have called us and how they encouraged us anyways, and encouraged people that are listening. And now we're talking today with Matthew West with Artist on the Hook. And here's what I want to do. I want to ask a question about you, some fun questions, a little more about you. You mind me doing that, Matthew?
I don't mind at all.
Let's go ahead and do it. First question for today that I've got. Now, did you watch Super Bowl this weekend?
I did.
Okay. Did you have any favorite commercials that you liked to know? Was there any ones that stuck out to you? Or another thing, what team were you rooting for in the Super Bowl game?
Well, I tell you, I'll answer your second question first. I was rooting for the 49ers this year, and they didn't win it this year because, it just didn't work out. But I was rooting for the 49ers because I became friends with the kicker for the 49ers, who is a great guy. His name is David Akers, and he's a strong Christian, loves the Lord, got a powerful testimony, travels around preaching in the off season, and so I was rooting for him, buddy. And he had a good game. He kicked 3 field goals, and for a while there was the only one putting points on the board. But I tell you, as for the Super Bowl commercials, my youngest brother decided to schedule his 2-year-old son's birthday party right in the middle of the Super Bowl, which is just not cool. So we were at a 2-year-old birthday party during the Super Bowl, and there's all these kids running around, and the TV was on, but the volume was all the way down, so I couldn't even tell you if there was a good Super Bowl commercial or not. So
I understand.
So that's what happens when you have to go to a 2-year-old birthday party during the Super Bowl. Just, anybody listening out there, just schedule your 2-year-old birthday party on a different day, would you please?
I love it. I tell you what, that's a very good thing to know. But the blackout happened. Hopefully, I was during the party, anyways, where they kind of stopped and waited for a little while in the Super Bowl. So
yeah.
Now, a couple more questions I've got for you. The Artist on the Hook. Now, if you had a choice, any of these 4 you want to choose from, would you rather watch a football or college or pro game, go to a movie, watch a baseball game, or read a book, or the 4th? I guess I'll give you a 5th one: race go-karts on a go-kart track.
Well, I know we did that once before together.
Yeah, we did.
I would definitely pick a baseball game. I would go to a baseball game any chance you give me. I grew up a huge baseball fan, and so that's my sport, and that's my way to relax. But I live in Nashville, so there's no professional teams here. So every now and then we'll just hop down to the minor league stadium and get our baseball fix.
Of course, if many folks may not know, you played a little baseball in high school, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought I was pretty good, but It turns out I wasn't.
Some more questions for you here with Artists on the Hook. What's your favorite social network? What's the one you use the most?
You know, I use Twitter and Facebook pretty much about the same. So beyond that, I have a hard time getting into everything else. Everybody's into Instagram right now, and I'm like, jeepers, man, I can't take on another project like that. It's just consuming. So I do Facebook and Twitter, and people can find me on there, and I'm always doing goofy stuff on there.
I always love it. Of course, check it out with Matthew West here with Artists on the Hook. Two more questions for you. And second last one is, what do you do for fun on the road? Now, I remember when we came down to Wild Adventures a couple years ago, we did a little go-kart racing, and then afterwards we all went bowling at Jeremy Camp. Toby Mack went. You didn't bowl, though. You kind of watched. But what's some things you do for fun on the road?
Oh, man. You know, well, my answer to that question is a little differently these days now that I got two little girls with me, you know. So what I do for fun now is play with dolls on the bus. So don't quote me on that. That's going to sound weird if they take that out of context. But but you know, man, just spending time with my family on the road these days is awesome. So we, you know, sometimes we'll try to find a neat little restaurant, go grab a bite to eat. I'm a bit of a restaurant guy, so I like to find out, you know, where the local spot is to go get a good bite to eat, and that's always a fun little adventure. But you know, every day seems to present itself with new, unique opportunities. Every city is unique, and all the people in it are unique, and so it's fun to travel around and just see what we can get ourselves into.
Now, when you said that, it reminded me of that Doritos commercial on the Super Bowl where the little girl said, "Daddy, come dress up my tea party. You can have Doritos." So, and he got Doritos. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's exactly right. I'd probably relate with that.
Last question for you that I've got, of course, with Artists on the Hook. Now, we got an up-and-coming artist here in this area. We put on Facebook to ask some questions. They want to ask you. Thorns Deep is a group around here. They want to know if they could open up for you. And I said, well, I don't know if Matthew can, let that happen or not. But he said, what was something that you give an up-and-coming artist? What kind of things do you give them? Of course, so this is Thorns Deep now I'm talking about. Of course, give them as a artist to make it big.
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't even know if it's about making it big anymore. I think it's just about being used by God. And so, I think as long as we're making it big in God's eyes, that might mean that we're singing at our church on Sunday morning. And, I used to think it was all about, well, if I don't have my song on the radio, then I'm not a big success. And I just don't think that way anymore. We can't be defined by that kind of stuff. So I'd say the biggest advice is just, seeking God with all your heart and asking Him to give you wisdom and how to take those next steps. That's up to Him. Every artist who's done anything with their ministry has an amazing one-of-a-kind story of how God just put them in the right place at the right time. And so it's one of those things. There's no set way to do it. You just step out in faith and just ask God to help you to continue to do what He calls you to do, and then you'll be a success in His eyes, and that's all that matters.
Amen. I love it. Good advice from Matthew West with Artists on the Hook. Matthew, as always, thanks for stopping by here with me.
Hey, thank you, man. Take care, Jason.